I have a lot of skills. I've done a lot of things. I have a lot of experience, but I just couldn't find a landing place. It just happens to a lot of people. It was 2008 when that happened. So yeah, like a lot of people, I was in the lurch.
Mm-hmm.
Up here in Canada, things were bad too. It wasn't just the States; it was all over the world. And I ended up doing the worst job on the planet that I had done before, and that is tree planting.
Wow.
If anybody's ever done tree planting, I mean, some people are real pro tree planting, and there's a reason for that, because it's filled with people who are fringe culturalists, who reject society, who reject everything to do with mainstream culture and society. And it's filled with people like that. It's filled with like conspiracy theorists, vegans, radicals of all kinds, environmentalists of all kinds, people who are just phenomenally sick of what is today mainstream society.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where they end up, because it's piecework. You can plant trees. You end up planting 3,000-4,000 trees a day for like 10, 12, 13 cents
Mm-hmm.
a tree. If you make, $2, $3, $4, $5, usually $200-$300 a day, sometimes $400 or $500 a day.
Mm.
But you're living out in the woods. You're working through all temperatures, all weather, so rain or shine, you're out there. And you go back to your wet tent or your dry tent or your overheated tent or whatever. And that's how you live for 4 to 6 months in the Canadian Rocky Mountains, surrounded by bears and cougars and bugs and heat, and you name it. So it's the worst bloody job in the world, but I thought it would make an amazing reality show.
Mm-hmm.
So on top of tree planting every day, I was shooting a reality show.
No way.
Yeah.
You came up with the idea?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Well, it's not like I was the first person to come up with the idea, but
no,
I was the first person to turn my already miserable full-time job into 2 full-time jobs by shooting and doing the tree planting at the same time to survive. So I shot a bunch of stuff. I packaged it together, created a trailer. I entered a contest. I won the contest. It's called the Bell Media Fellowship Award, and it sent me to the Banff International Film Festival in 2013, where I got the opportunity to pitch different projects and ideas to development executives from around the world. First person I met there, the first person who took my pitches was Fred.
Wow.
Fred was the first person to accept, well, he was the first scheduled pitch session.
Okay.
And he told me I'd send him like 3 or 4, because I have tons of story ideas, and I've wanted to do, major story ideas for decades. One's about Mayans, one's about Russians, one's about Romans, you name it, right?
Mm.
One of the ones I pitched to him out of the whole thing was this Tesla project idea as a TV series, in dramatic format. I knew who he was. I knew his history. I was amazed by the guy. I was amazed he even took my interview.
Mm-hmm.
And I sat down with him. He ended up being just the coolest guy. Very low-key, not egotistical. He said to me, listen, the reason I took this pitch session is because of Tesla. I tried to develop Tesla 20 years ago at Zoetrope with Coppola and Lucas. We couldn't get it financed. We weren't able to do it. I've been trying to do it ever since. I mean, this is a guy who's done so many things. Like in the last 10 years, when he was an executive at the CBC television network in Canada, which is the big national network we have here, he commissioned the Tudors, the Borgias, the Vikings, and then he went on and executive produced Camelot for Starz Network, and then transported the series. Also,
so cool. I love that show.
Well,
Great
he
show.
didn't produce them. He commissioned them. He was the person inside the network who said, "Let's put that on TV."
Wow, brilliant.
But
Okay.
those guys don't take credit for those series. That's just not the way the industry works, right? Normally the producer, executive producer,
Mm-hmm.
writers take credit, direct actors. But people within the networks who are these executives, they don't normally take credit, but they're still the guys who make the decision at the end of the day. Well, he was in a position, he was the head guy in CBC, and he got all those networks on television in Canada. And without him, they wouldn't have gone to television anywhere. Because usually these things are co-financed either through international co-production with a European network and then a Canadian network, and they put the budget together that way, and then it gets on because you've got 2 broadcast licenses to leverage for financing.
Mm-hmm.
But he's one of the guys who made sure those things got on television.
Wow.
And then previous to that, Zoetrope for 12 years and 15 films with Coppola and all those guys. You know what I mean? Like the guy's he's just great.
Yeah.
So it astonished me when he said that he, Lucas, Coppola, 20 years ago, Tesla, feature film, couldn't get it done.
Yeah, that's wow.
I was like, why? What happened? And his answer was, well, a lot of things got to come together. It wasn't a conspiracy story.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't like, the hammer came down and said we couldn't do it. He didn't say that. I don't know. Maybe it's true. But he didn't say it. He just said, well, a lot of things got to come together. It's like, okay, I get that. I'm dealing with that right now. We've got a Christmas movie that we're trying to get going. We've got some financing, but the main actor we want doesn't have the same schedule as the main director we want. So how do you get the thing done? Right? And you're talking about Jack Black and this other director who's in demand. They don't have any other time.
Wow. Jack Black, that's awesome.
Well, no, we haven't got him because of this issue, right? It's like we haven't signed him because we don't know which way to jump. Should we jump that way or that way?
But he's interested, you're saying.
Well, he's interested, but I'm not the lead producer on this, so I'm not the guy who makes the final decision, so I don't get those kinds of say, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's another thing. There are multiple producers, generally speaking, on a project, and they all have different powers.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not the lead producer on that, not even close. I'm an executive producer. I'm bringing some of the money, and we haven't even closed that yet. So it's really just, like he said, a lot of things got to come together. So it didn't happen. That's why he took my meeting. That's why he got involved with me. That's why he likes the idea of long format, because he has looked at the story archive before. He does see the vastness of it, and he does see how it could be translated into a television series. And the beauty of that is that the money that we raise will go to a list writer. Now, a list writer is somebody who's well known in the industry and has written stuff that television networks have produced, so they feel comfortable. Right? Now, the guy that jumps to mind here is somebody that Fred's been working with for a long time, and the writer is Michael Hurst.
Oh, I know that name. I know that name. Go ahead, say it though.
Yeah, well, he wrote The Vikings. He wrote The Tudors. He wrote Elizabeth, the feature film. He wrote Elizabeth, the Golden Age. He wrote Camelot.
Okay, that's why. Okay.
He's a writer and a creator in those areas. He's from Ireland, I believe. Anyway, all those series that he produced, or almost all, that he got onto television when he was at CBC, were done by Michael Hurst. So that's somebody that he's thinking of bringing in as a list writer and as a co-creator on the series. So, these are things that I thought that everybody would just be like, wow, amazed. But, I tapped the wrong market. Going after Tesla people was the wrong market because they're just not willing to.
I'm shocked, though, honestly. I mean, because, like I said in the beginning, I do understand, when you meet Tesla fans and stuff like that, there is that issue. But I thought for sure, hey, TV series, graphic novel, get it out there, get it to the public, because that's what it's all about. The Tesla forefront, or at the forefront for Tesla files, is get it to the public, and I don't see that happening, and I'm not sure why. But
I'll tell you what the core issue is. Core issue, as I see it, is this: there's a fundamental lack of trust in the universe, in these people, and that translates into poverty conscience. Because you can't feel wealthy if you trust the universe purpose, then you're not going to be left stranded.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you have karmic debt that you're dealing with and it's not over yet, you feel victimized.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a fundamental lack of trust in the universe. They want the mere fact that they're interested in Tesla means that they want to trust.
Yeah.
They want to trust because they can sense that, it's unlimited abundance in the universe. And that's really what Tesla's about. He's unlimited for energy, right? So that's a translation of that concept. But there's a fundamental lack of trust. They don't trust me. They don't trust the entertainment media system. They think that we're all bad people.
Mm-hmm.
They think we're all going to distort or pervert or twist the story for some sort of private agenda. You know, I have even expressed a little bit of that myself. When I first talked to Fred, I thought, okay, well, is there anybody who's going to manipulate this story on us? Mm-hmm. And he just looked at me and said, what? He's not going to manipulate the story on us. You know?
Yeah.
You know, I felt embarrassed, actually, for even asking that question. But I did it, too.
It's hard. Yeah, it is hard. It is hard.
It is hard. Yeah, so I'm saying. So there is a fundamental lack of trust, and unless that changes, or I go after a different market, basically. If I go after people who are just into TV, and I don't focus so much on the idea of Tesla, but of recreating the era and talking about this amazing inventor, wrapping it up in sci-fi, and then talking about and bringing all these other interesting characters in, I'm sure I would get financing, because then it's not a trust issue. It's just an entertainment issue. But because I went after Tesla Files, thinking that they would be the first group to actually support it, I ran head first into this wall of doubt and lack of trust.
Well, you put me in an awkward position, because now I have to trust the universe, okay?
Well, you did. You came right in, and you were one of the first people, and you weren't sitting there asking... So I meant, like, you don't understand, like, the kind of questions I got from people. Uh-huh. So it wasn't even like, are you going to? It's like, so you're going to twist it this way, aren't you?
What?
Yeah. That was just like the statements I got from people as I was talking about this.
Oh my God.
Or as I was social mediaizing this whole thing. Or if I tried to convince people who, you know, how important it was to donate $1 or $5 and then share it, they would say to me, every kind of poverty conscience excuse you can freaking imagine. Yeah. I'm in a wheelchair. Suddenly the person goes from being this normal person that you're talking to this absolute feeble being who's laying on the ground and needs care and attention at every second of the day and can't dislodge $1 from their account. And that is really that is what I ran into. It's a fundamental lack of trust in this universe that anything will ever change. And until that perception changes, that group of people, that's the world that they'll experience.
Well, what I was talking about also with trusting the universe is me and someone else, we wrote a story, and we actually want to make it a book series. And it's not about me. I'm just trusting the universe here. I'm telling you that right now. And no word of lie. I'm not even kidding when I tell you this, that one of the main people that we highlighted through the series at certain areas was Tesla. Mm-hmm. And it was more of like a sci-fi, meets a fantasy, mm-hmm. where we go into kind of dreams, and we go into different realms. We actually explore eternity, being a person. It was a whole thing. And I'm throwing it out there because I'll tell you what, I watch Once Upon a Time. I watch Doctor Who. Yeah. I watch you name TV shows. Sadly, I probably watch it because I love seriously, because I like.
Why is that sad? I don't find it sad. I find it to be one of the most advanced forms of creative expression on this planet.
Okay. Well, I mean, the people listening probably are like, "What, TV?" But no, seriously.
Well, they're thinking news.
Like,
sorry.
No, that's all right.
They're thinking of the news.
True.
They're thinking of how news is manipulated, and I'd have to agree with them.
True, and
I'm not interested in the news. Creative expression in with that manipulation.
And that's what's so beautiful is all these new shows that have come out. Once again, we'll go back to the MirrorLiving reflection thing. I've seen reflections of what we wrote, what we touched on, and even in the world, there were certain things that are going into place, like a Wi-Fi statue in California that's Tesla. You know what I mean? There are little odes of what we both wrote in the first book, and the second one connects with that, and then it's a whole, almost like a mythology. I'm just throwing it out there because I really believe in my heart of hearts that it could be a fantastic TV show if you had to find but we don't want that. I much rather what you're doing and everything else.